Hey folks, and welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing talking about work and power, and we're going to be talking about how to solve for work and power. Now we've done some practice with this with just solving for work and just solving for power, but today we're going to step up our level a little bit and we're going to start solving for some of the other parts of our equations. So first things first, let's just refresh ourselves on our equations. Equation number one is work is equal to force times distance. And let's remember that work is always going to be measured in joules. So that is capital J. And then for our second equation, we have power is equal to work divided by time. Right, so here's our second equation. Power is equal to work divided by time. And remember that our unit for power is the watt. Now, that is slightly confusing because it's a capital W. So you just have to kind of remember that work is measured in joules, capital J. Power is measured in watts, capital W. So let's take a look at our couple example problems here. For the first one, we have Cindy, who weighs 500 newtons, climbed the stairs from the first floor to the third floor, which was 15 meters above in 20 seconds. How much work did she do? And then what was her power? So we've got two different questions here. On the first one, we're trying to find work. And when we're trying to find work, we need to be using our work equation. So work is equal to force times distance. So work is equal to force times distance. Now, we've got three different numbers here in the problem, right? And so the key thing is that we need to go through and identify what is the information that is being given to us, right? We want to know force and distance because that's what we need in order to be able to find work. So Cindy, who weighs 500 newtons, okay, here is our force. Okay, here's our force. Climb the stairs to the first floor from the third floor, 15 meters above. Okay, here is our distance, and then in 20 seconds. This is time, right? Oop, there we go. That's time. Okay, so we don't need time for this, right? Work is equal to force times distance. So what we need to be focusing on are the force and the distance. So in this case, work, I'm going to switch colors here, is equal to 500 times 15. And so we will do that calculation here. 500 times 15. And that gives us 7,500 joules. 7,500 joules. Okay, so there is the amount of work that she did. So now for the second question, it says, what is her power? So let's refresh ourselves. Power is equal to work divided by time. Now, in the first time that we did these questions, we were struggling a little bit with the power part, with solving for power, because a lot of people were trying to find the work and using the wrong number for that. We have just calculated the amount of work that she did, right? We said that she did 7,500 joules of work. So that's what we're going to put in here for the work. So power is equal to 7,500 joules. All right. And then we need to figure out the time. Well, we know the time, right? That was in the original question. It is 20 seconds. And so again, we need to do this calculation. 7,500 divided by 20 seconds. And so that gives us 375. And again, the unit for power is the watt. Okay, that's the watt. So you'll definitely have a lot of these kind of multi-step questions. So just be aware that you need to be paying attention on those. All right, for our second example, if 4,000 joules are used to lift a 300 Newton object, how high is the mass raised? Okay, so the key thing here is to know what is the information that is being given to us. So let's go through and identify that. We've got 4,000 joules, that is work, and we've got 300 newtons. Newtons is measuring force, and it's asking us how high is the mass raised. That is distance. Now, the tricky thing about talking about work and power is that we have two different equations, right? And we need to be able to figure out which of the two equations do we need to use. Because if we use the wrong equation, then we're going to come up with the wrong answer. So in this case, we're given work, force, and we're trying to find the distance. So we need to use the equation that has all three of those. That's our work, force, and distance equation. That's our work equation. So work is equal to force times distance. So now let's go in and substitute those in. The work in this case we know it's 4,000 joules is equal to the force, which we know is 300 newtons times the distance. That's what we don't know. That's what we're trying to find. Okay, so when we calculate for work, we have to multiply the force and the distance. But when we want to find the distance, or there may be some questions where you need to find the force, okay, in either of those cases, right, we are going to be dividing by whatever's on the right side of the right side of the equation. So here we're dividing by 300 newtons, and when we do that to one side of the equation, we also have to do that to the other side of the equation. That's going to cancel out the 300 newtons on the right, and so now we have 4,000 divided by 300 is equal to the distance, and so when we do that, we take our 4,000 and we divide it by 300, we get that our distance is equal to 13.3, and then don't forget your correct units. All right, thanks for watching, y'all, and I will see you soon.